Welcome to the Peak Endurance Podcast. Episode 123 is an interview with the amazing Pat Farmer. Pat is best known as the only man who has run continuously from the North Pole to the South Pole and is a multiple world record holder for endurance running. He has run around and across Australia, New Zealand, India, Vietnam and North America. Pat also served 8 years as a member of Australia's Parliament, with 3 years as Parliamentary Secretary for Education, Science and Training. Winner of Achiever of the Year 2000, awarded by Prime Minister John Howard, and National Geographic's Adventurer of the Year in 2012. Pat has raised millions of dollars for causes during his 30-year running career, including Lifeline, Cancer Council, Australian Red Cross, Diabetes Australia, and the Nani Khali Foundation for Education of India's girl child. Pat is currently in the final stages of a relay foot race that will see two teams of 4, complete 1,000 miles in just 10 days. This ultra race between two teams, Australia versus USA, is testing the limits of endurance, commitment, and determination, all in the name of raising awareness of and funds for youth mental health service ReachOut. If you enjoy this episode, would you be able to do me a favour and subscribe and write a review? It truly doesn't take much time, but it means so much to me. Not only does doing this help to boost the ratings of the show, it increases its audience reach, meaning more athletes like you get to hear these interviews with these awesome guests, and it really makes my day reading the reviews. Are injuries or niggles ruining your enjoyment of running and hindering your performance? If they are, get on top of them and see the specialists at Health and High Performance. Utilising the latest in technology and with a wealth of experience, the team at Health and High Performance can assist you with all of your running, injury and performance needs. So, to get back to enjoying your running and achieving the results you are capable of, head to healthhp.com.au/run or find them on Instagram, Health High Performance. They post heaps of really informative videos there as well. Wild Earth Australia are the online store to help you make the most of the outdoors with top quality gear at great prices. Peak Endurance Podcast listeners can use the discount code Peak Endurance to get 10% off at checkout from their already great prices. Head on over to wildearth.com.au to get everything you need for your next adventure, and I'm sure we'll all be able to be adventuring soon. Now, I have limited coaching places left. If you are planning a race in 2022, now is the time to get started on your training. I know it seems a long time away, but it's really not. To secure a spot on Team Peak Endurance, email me, isabel@peakendurancecoaching.com.au to get the ball rolling. And I really hope you enjoy this episode. I certainly enjoyed chatting with Pat.
You run 5K as hard and as fast as you can according to the course and the temperatures that we're dealing with.
Yep.
And then you hand over the baton to the next runner in your team, and the Americans do the same. And so it goes on from there. It's an ultra marathon. Like, don't take this lightly. We are still doing 160 kilometers per team per day.
Yeah.
In total distance, we will cover in 10 days, we will cover 1,000 miles. So by 5 p.m. at the latest tomorrow, we will have covered 1,000 miles, and that's why the run is called 1,000 Miles to Light. It was originally going to finish at the lighthouse at Byron Bay.
Okay, yeah.
Hence the play, but also the play on words, because it's for youth mental health for ReachOut, and so ReachOut is all about providing a light to people that are in a dark place.
Yeah, no, definitely, and what a great cause. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, you spoke about the course and the temperatures. What are the temperatures like, and what is the course like?
Well, the temperature today is around about 29 degrees. It's been like that most of the day. We'll run on into the early evening. So the times have been getting staggered each day according to the film crew. There will be a beautiful film made out of this run, and it'll be available for people to watch on KO here in Australia, and it'll also be available in the United States as well and throughout Asia. But we'll finish. So we'll finish in just on dusk or in the evening. And I'm on a place called One Tree Hill at the moment. There is one big tree here. See if I can move my camera around. You can just see it there in the background. See that?
Yep, yep.
Behind that car. Yeah, so that's the one tree that they talk about in this place. And that when the sun sets in the west there, it's going to light up that tree beautifully for a wonderful shot to finish off the evening.
Oh, that sounds like it'd be glorious. So when you're doing this, where are you sleeping at night? Because I'm presuming you stop for the night.
Yeah, the army have put us up, so they set up a base for us each day. So they set up tents and they set up a base. So we're basically isolated. We're out and away from everybody else. Yeah. We're able to have a bush shower, and we're able to have a wash and that sort of thing. So it's all good. But we get a good night's sleep still. We sometimes sit around the campfire and look at the stars and get the race briefing. Yeah. So it's quite romantic, but and for the Americans to see the typical Australian outback is tremendous. There's kangaroos everywhere. We've seen a couple of wild pigs. There've been some wild dogs around the place here. Of course, some rabbits and wombats and various bits and pieces around the place as well. So it all makes for a good film, and it makes it for interesting running as well. And anybody that's ever run trails, you know about the romanticism of watching the mountains in the distance and actually making it through to those mountains, doing a U-turn and coming back to your location where you started off from. That's exactly what we're doing today. It's a loop road today, a loop race today. So we often see our competitors as we're going past them, but it's a nice way to have it.
Yeah, yeah. And who's looking after you? Like, because during the ban, presumably you need food and drinks and that sort of stuff. Who's crewing for you?
Once again, the army. The army have been sensational. So I feel very, very privileged to have the army on board with this particular event. They originally signed up to be part of this journey when we were going from Broome through to Byron Bay, because they saw it as a great opportunity for a recruitment campaign, a goodwill campaign through a lot of the Aboriginal communities that we would have passed through the Northern Territory, Western Australia, South Australia, and then on into New South Wales. But then when the changes came about, the army was still very keen to get behind us and still very keen to support us with the event. And community service and mental health is something that's first and foremost for the army as well. We've seen the work that they've done through the bushfires and the floods, things that have happened in outback New South Wales and throughout the whole of Australia, and they're always there at the forefront. So this is a great way for getting both military and civilian engagement around a great cause, which is ReachOut.
No, excellent. And how did you come up with the idea of it being a race, a relay kind of style race?
Well, thanks for asking me that question, because I've been doing this sort of running now for over 35 years. I cut my teeth on the old Sydney to Melbourne races, which Cliff Young, Tony Rafferty, Joe Record, Giannis Kouros, and all those guys made famous back in the old days, the late 1980s and 1990s. And so I saw the sorts of ultra marathons that were around at the time, and they were great for the competitors, but they weren't great for television, because the runners were going day and night, night and day and night, and they were absolutely wiped out. By the time they got down towards Melbourne, they were often they looked a shadow of themselves, and it didn't make great TV. So what I wanted to do was show people the endurance of an ultra athlete, but still make it sexy and make it interesting for TV and for the general public that don't run as well. So I'm trying to bring some of the shorter distance runners into the ultra scene by making it a relay event around 5K relays. But it's still a hell of a long distance each day. And so that's where the ultra comes into it as well. So it appeals for TV, it appeals to those people that are naturally shorter distance runners, helps bring them up to the ultra distance experience. And still ticks all the boxes as far as endurance is concerned. So it works very, very well. And everyone will see that when the film comes out on KO.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing that. So how did you choose the teams as well?
Well, I'm very lucky. There is a lot of great ultra athletes throughout Australia and indeed in America. I mean, I know all of your viewers would be very aware of the Western States runs and Death Valley Run and many of the races throughout the states. I in fact have run across American, the Trans-American foot race a few times and a few other races in America. So, I had a good rapport with a lot of American runners anyway, so they were easy to tap into. And with the Australian runners, we got people like Deidre Hopkins, who is just phenomenally strong, a great athlete. You watch her on into the future. I'm picking her to make it to the Olympics in the marathon within the next two lots of Olympics, without a doubt. She's a very, very strong, very fast, and she's got exactly what it takes to make it all the way through to the Olympics. So there's Deidre Hopkins is from Sydney. She's Irish Australian and very proud of her heritage. Then we've got Greta Truscott. Greta Truscott is a great run trainer. She has over 200 people in her squad that she trains out of Centennial Park in Sydney. Greta trains people of all ages, from kids right through to elderly adults, and she brings out the best of them. She's highly motivated. She's always a happy spirit to be around, and she's a very fast runner, both herself and her husband, Chris. So Greta is another great runner. So she was just a natural pick. And then, of course, Justin Mcdonald. Justin Mcdonald is a great club runner. He's got speed, and he's got talent that people haven't seen as yet, but they will in the near future. I took Justin with me with the same sort of concept as I have with this race over to Uganda a couple of years ago. And we did a run in Uganda from Entebbe, which is the capital, through to Lira. It's 500 kilometers. We ran 100 kilometers a day between 5 runners, and we smashed out the pace, and we did that very well. So I was very keen to get Justin on board for this event as well. So that was basically it. But I have to tell you, this event will go back to its original concept next year, from Broken Hill through to Byron Bay. And there will be qualifiers in each state. I'll organize qualifiers in each state, and I'd love to advertise that through your channel. In fact, there will be qualifiers in each state, and I want the best Australian team to take on the world. Originally, this race was going to have 16 teams from all over the world. The Kiwis were very interested in participating. The Canadians were very interested in participating, and so were the English. And then there was a number of Asian teams and South American teams very, very interested in participating. So I'll have no problems bringing them back next year, but we want the best possible Australian team. So we're going to select the best from each state, and then they're going to go head to head to represent Australia in this race next year.
That sounds really exciting. I didn't realize that was the magnitude that you had it for, planned for. What a pity with everything going on. But obviously, then there's always next year. So that's brilliant. Now, like you said, in spite of you doing 5K blocks, it is actually an ultra. So how are you backing up day after day, and all of the runners, but not just day after day, but you do your 5K run, then you stop, and then you have to run again, which is actually quite a difficult thing to do. How are you all backing that up?
Well, as you know, and as any runner knows, your food, your nutrition, and of course the supplements that you take are very, very important when you're pushing your body to the absolute limits. We're lucky to have Frank Caruso from Caruso's vitamins and supplements, one of the major sponsors, and he has been fantastic, and he's had us on a regime of good healthy eating and a good dietary with supplements, because when you're doing this sort of mileage, doesn't matter how well you eat, you just can't get enough calories into your body. In fact, when I did the run from North Pole all the way through to the South Pole, I was actually drinking olive oil in the North Pole and the South Pole just to try and get enough calories into my body. And I still dropped down to only 47 kilograms by the time I got out of the North Pole and into Canada. So you will always lose weight on these things when you're doing such big mileage day after day after day. And that's why it's important that you have good calories that you're putting into your body. the old days of having salt and simple sugars and all, I mean, they're nice as a little mental booster, but to be professional, you really have to watch your diet. You've really got to eat well. And so it's things like the right salads. If you're after fats, you want the sort of fats that you're going to get out of avocados, nice ripe avocados that are easy to digest. Of course, all of your listeners would know the benefits of simple things like bananas and coconut water. So those are the sorts of mainstream foods that we're taking in. Good healthy salads, bit of tuna for protein in the evening, that sort of thing. But a nice, good, clean, lean diet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in food being an important part of recovery. So that
you bet.
makes
Although I have to say, my go-to food at the end of the day is a chocolate milkshake. I crave the fat. I crave that bit of fat.
Oh, yeah.
Just my body is craving something like that. So I love a chocolate milkshake at the end of the day. But I do put a little bit of protein powder in there as well.
Well, they do say milk is good for recovery, so
Yeah.
I think you're in a good one there. So how did you train for this, for something of this, so many days, basically 10 days of constant training?
As you would know, because the lockdowns, everybody's training got mucked around incredibly so. So I have a treadmill. Life Fitness gave me a treadmill, a very good treadmill, a gym quality one. And I would practice on that. So I would jump on there for 5K, smash it out as hard and fast as I could, back off, do some stretches and go through a whole stretching regime and take in a little bit of food and then jump back on again and more or less try and replicate what I was going to do out here on the road. And the Americans did the same thing, but they were in hotel quarantine. And I have to tell you, I have nothing but respect for the American runners for what they had to go through, and then to still back up and participate in this event and see it all the way through to the end. They are really phenomenal athletes. They are really, it's an honor to be running with them.
Yeah, I forgot that they would have to be in quarantine. That would have been tough to keep the training up. So in general, what is sort of your weekly mileage like when you are in training?
Well, it depends. When I was doing the old Sydney to Melbourne races, in the early days, I needed to build up a bit of pedigree. So I was doing anything up to 410 kilometers a week in training back in the day. And then I've backed off on that over years. So these days, I'm usually doing around 210K a week.
Wow.
And that's varied between a morning and an afternoon run, a little bit of gym work in between, sometimes even some boxing training. So I try to mix it up a little bit and just stay all round fitness. But of course, like all ultra runners, I'll do a long run on a Saturday or a Sunday, or at least 2 days a week, have a decent long run. So that'll involve anything up to a 50K run, and then maybe a 30K run on a Saturday and a 50K on the Sunday, just to prove to my body I can back up. And then through the week is everything like soft sand running, a bit of sprint work, a bit of this, bit of that, bit of everything. Yeah.
Wow, that's decent. And how do you stay injury free? Please give us your secrets.
Well, it's all about having a good stretching regime, making sure that you spend a bit of time getting regular massage when you can, of course, when COVID restrictions aren't on. A good healthy diet, is really important for recovery. And then aside from that, your mental attitude is everything. So it's about having the discipline to believe in yourself, that if something goes wrong and you miss a session or something goes wrong in your life, that you have the faith that you can back up again and you can just get on with the job regardless. And I think that's what the years of experience have taught me. So many people go into a dark hole if something goes wrong in their lives, or they have a setback, or they miss out on some training, or they miss out on an event, and it plays on their mind so much that they actually go backwards. And it's most important to have a good, positive attitude all of the time.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you. Now, can you explain a bit about ReachOut and why you chose this cause and why it's so important to you?
Well, I've done runs for Lifeline, and everybody in Australia is very aware of the work that Lifeline does, the work that Red Cross does in that space of people that are suffering from mental illness. But ReachOut specialise in mental health for young people. So that's people between the ages of 14 to 25. And anybody that's got a son or a daughter, in particular a teenage child, they know that teenagers don't like talking. They will send a text message. They'll type a question out to somebody out there in Never Land and try and get an answer. But they just won't open up. They don't like the face-to-face engagement, and they don't like to admit if they've got problems or things going on in their life. Now, it may be drugs, might be alcohol, might be bullying. It might be just a lack of self-confidence, so many different things. But it's most important for them to be able to reach out to somebody and to be able to get the answers that they're looking for. And what happens is ReachOut is specifically tailored to suit young people. It's geared, it's in that space where they can get the answers that they're looking for to be able to help them through the tough times that they might be experiencing, especially around exam time, as far as students are concerned, especially around bullying issues. This point in time, imagine what it's like with so many people that have tried to make something of themselves, and then their HSC has gone to custard because they haven't been able to study in the classroom, haven't been able to get the support they wanted, or they've done all right at school and then they've gone to get their first job. They only just started their first job, and all of a sudden all these places have been shut down. And they find themselves sitting at home and they don't know whether they'll ever get a job again, and they don't know how things are going to go from it. They're starting to doubt themselves and they go into a dark space. And sadly, very, very sadly, the statistics around youth suicide are much higher than the statistics around COVID at this point in time. And it's a terrible thing because that is preventative. We can do something about that. If we can get to the kids and we can help them, we can make a difference and we can save their lives. So I can't express enough how important it is that people in general and the government most especially acknowledges the problems around mental health for young people in particular, and they do something about that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And if people listening to this want to do something, what can they do?
Well, they can go to 1,000 Miles to Light website. They can click on the donate button and they can help us support ReachOut to expand their services and do the vital work that they're doing. So it's very easy. And while they're at it, they can check out some of the podcasts. They can check out some of the video content, some of the photos that are there. Have a look at our social pages, and also drop us a line and let us know if they're interested in participating in a qualifying event for the following year. So all we need is their names, a return email address, and what state they're from, and we'll touch base with them and we'll let them know about what event going to be on their state to qualify for this event next year. And believe me, next year will be a much bigger event than this year.
So what sort of runs will you have as qualifying runs?
I'm thinking of having it'll be a 500-kilometer run, so a 500-kilometer run over 5 days. It'll be one in each state, and there'll be teams of 4 that will be able to participate in that. So, and the 4 runners will have to knock over 100 kilometers a day in the race, and then it'll be the best. The best from each state will take on the best from each state, and then that'll prove the best Australian team, and that'll be the team that takes on the world.
Wow! So even the qualifying will be a huge challenge. I like.
Oh
that.
Yeah, and a huge race within themselves. Look! My goal is to make this the biggest event in the Southern Hemisphere, like the Westfield Run used to be, with major prize money, and start to give people the opportunity to be professional ultra athletes.
That sounds awesome. I love it. Excellent. Now, for yourself and the team members, what are some of the challenges you're facing within this current run?
Oh, look, it's just it's most important to try and hang on to our mental attitude through all of this. I got to tell you, it was so hard just to get to the starters line, to take the first step, to have so many setbacks and so many people saying, no, you can't do it. No, it's out. And then we'd have to modify things. And I suppose there's a lesson in that for everybody. And the lesson is that you need to be fluid, you need to be adaptable, and you need to believe in yourself and believe in your dream and never, ever give up on your goal. And if you do that, you will eventually achieve what you set out to do. And that's what running's all about, isn't it? It's about setting a goal and then working towards it in increments all the way through until you achieve that end goal. It's not about who comes first or who comes second. It's just about achieving what you set out to do. And like Cliff Young told me many, many years ago, you know, in order to win a race, you have to finish a race. So in order to finish a race, you've got to start a race. So you've got to be able to be there at the starter's line and make sure that you show up.
Yeah, no, 100%. And what about some high points? Have you had some high points so far?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Look, all the way through, it's as you know, with this business, it's a series of ups and downs. You know, you go through highs and lows. One moment you're crying, the next minute you're as happy as can be. It's the nature of the beast. You know, you live a whole lifetime within a singular event with ultra running, but it's wonderful to go through those emotions. Watching the army at the finish line doing dances to try and cheer us up, you know, that is really something special. And then seeing, after we finish each day, we've had the opportunity to see some of the army personnel train for the infantry courses that they're doing. And they are, you know, they're hardcore and they're an inspiration to all of us. So, you know, it's wonderful to see these young men and women doing what they do. And, you know, they're saying that they're inspired by us, but we're definitely inspired by them as well.
Yeah, that's great. Now, as you've alluded to, you mainly do your own organised challenges now instead of specific events. Why is that?
Quite simply because there's not enough events on anymore. There's not enough events out there, and there's certainly not enough professional events. You know, I see the football and the cricket and all the rest of it, but runners are basically lone people that want to beat themselves each time. They want to beat their personal best. They want to, you know, and so there's not the opportunities, not enough opportunities for them around, not enough races for them around, and certainly not enough pinnacle races that they can aim towards with you know, where they can actually turn to be professional. I believe that the life lessons that ultra runners have, especially ultra runners, but indeed all runners, have wonderful lessons for business. And so I want to encourage businesses to get more guest speakers from the ultra scene out there, talking to them about going through endurance and being fluid and adaptable to all sorts of weather conditions, all sorts of climates, all sorts of things going right and going wrong. And those lessons are wonderful examples for business in general. So, you know, the reason why I organize my own events is because I've been in this business long enough to see what both the athletes want and both what the sponsors want. Often events are tailored to suit the athletes or they're tailored to suit the sponsors. But when you get the both together and it suits both purposes, you have an incredible event.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And what are the difficulties involved in creating your own runs, though?
Oh, well, a government permission, often councils, you know, one of the things that annoys me is governments say that they want people to be fit and healthy, and then you have local councils charging fitness trainers a fortune to be able to exercise in public parks and to be able to train other people in public parks. And they're not realizing the benefits that are coming back to the community by those people being fit and healthy. So, you know, we need to get a message through to government that they've got to cut some breaks for, especially in these times, for people that are fitness trainers. We've also got to, when you're organizing events, if they're on roads, you need police permission and you've got to work with police and local traffic authorities. So, you know, a lot of the events I've organized have been trail runs, they've been soft sand runs, because I've been able to take the runners off the roads and keep them in an environment where I haven't had to tick so many boxes with the police and local government. So it's made it just a little bit easier along those lines. But the more we can do that, the better it is and the safer it is. But either way, we need everybody working together towards a common goal, and that is trying to make a fitter, healthier Australia.
Yeah, that's a great goal. Now, I let my listeners know that I was going to be interviewing you, and so they've sent some questions in.
Oh, sure.
Someone wanted to know, what is the craziest thing? Well, it's actually Zoe wanted to know, what is the craziest thing you've done outside of running?
Outside of running?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I climbed Matterhorn Mountain a couple of years ago.
Right.
It's a beautiful looking mountain, and I always wanted to climb it from the moment I first saw it. And so I made up my mind that that was going to be a goal. So I went across to New Zealand. I did an alpine experience course over there. I climbed a few mountains in New Zealand while I was at it and did some extra training. And then I went across to Switzerland and climbed Matterhorn Mountain. And it was a wonderful life goal for me. And every time I see that mountain or I eat a piece of Toblerone, I think about the fact that I conquered that mountain.
And Switzerland is a beautiful country. That's an awesome one. Another question was, how do you view running nowadays compared to when you were in the political fray?
Well, politics is a very, very difficult field because you can go in there with all the right intentions, but at the end of the day, if you don't toe the party line or if you're not working with the group and what the group philosophy is, then it's very difficult to get things through and get things done. I've always been a bit of a loner, and I've always tried to champion the underdog. And politics is very much about numbers. So if you've got a whole lot of people that want something to happen, the politicians will pay attention to it and they'll back it because they know there's votes in it. But if there's only a handful of people getting behind something, they often won't touch it. But I'm a big believer in the individual and the individual's rights. And so, for that reason, I used to go out there and I fight pretty hard for people that needed, in some cases, refugee status. In other cases, just a fair deal from a number of government departments that they were getting, that they weren't necessarily getting the right deal from because they weren't represented until I had the opportunity to do that. So, that's politics for you. And then, I find with running is difficult, but it's more physically difficult, whereas the politics is mentally difficult and mentally draining and frustrating.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I bet it is.
But you can do a lot of good. And so if you go on there with the right intentions, you can do amazing things to help people.
Yeah. Another one is, what former politicians do you look up to as examples of those who do transition out of political life?
Look, I do like John Howard, and it might seem a little biased, but I've always liked John Howard because he stepped out of politics and he doesn't keep sticking his nose back into it all the time unless he's really got something very important to say. He was always like the nation's grandfather, even when he was in politics. And I used to see the girls from the Australian netball team, and they come back and he'd welcome them. He was a nice all-rounder. I liked him very much. I liked Bob Hawke too, by the way. I liked him. He was just a typical knock-around Australian who became Prime Minister. So there was two. Kim Beazley was an absolute gentleman. And Kim, if it wasn't for Kim Beazley's support for me, I never would have been able to run through Central America on that run that I did from North Pole through to the South Pole, because there was a lot of difficulties with a lot of governments, in particular the Mexican government, trying to get through there. And so he believed in me, he supported me with that, and he spoke to the government officials, and consequently, I was able to do an incredible thing for the International Red Cross with that run. So they're a couple that I look up to. Yeah.
And the last question from the listeners is, how do you avoid burnout within your running? You're doing so much.
How do I avoid what? Sorry.
Burnout.
Oh, burnout. Yeah. Look, I love it. I run. I love what I do, and because I love what I do, and I'm sort of person, I need purpose in my life. So when I run, I'm always running for a worthwhile cause. I'm always trying to raise money for charities. I raise literally millions of dollars for different charities throughout the world, not just here in Australia. I ran the length of India for girls' education over there. I ran through the Middle East to help the peace campaign over there. Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, and Palestine. I've run, Central America for clean water projects, Vietnam for clean water projects, for International Red Cross and clean sanitary conditions. So with that, it gives me purpose. So whenever I have the ability to be able to highlight a cause and then raise money for that cause or support that cause and make a difference, I'll always do it. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. It helps me keep going.
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right, and And another question is, who's winning so far, or can you not tell us?
No, I'm happy to tell you the Australians got a commanding lead on the first day. It was part of our strategy, and we've worked very solidly as a team. We really pushed the envelope on the first day. We were running phenomenal times, but we knew that we were going to do that. Then we wanted to just consolidate that lead from that point on. The same thing happened to me in reverse when I was doing the Trans-American run many years ago. And I learned from that. And so I spoke to our team and I said to them, here's the strategy. This is what we've got to do. We need to at least get an hour on the Americans, and then we need to just stick to them like glue. And we're able to do that. And then after 3 days, we got to a stage where we you know, they'd lost their spirit a bit, their fighting spirit a bit. They regained it afterwards, but it gave us an opportunity to put a commanding lead on them. So we are more than, tomorrow is the last day. We will finish at 5 o'clock tomorrow, and we're more than 24 hours ahead of the American team.
That's awesome.
But that is no disgrace to them. They went through a lot to try and be here for the event, and the Australians were just so determined, and we were absolutely motivated. You know, we had a dear friend, a very dear friend of 3 of the runners in the Australian team, myself included, that took his life at the start of this whole COVID situation 18 months ago. And it was because he was in a dark place and he was suffering depression. And that's been the motivational force behind us. So there was never, ever going to be any question of it. We were always going to give it our absolute best. I admire the American team for all that they've had to put up with it to get here and to be here and to compete. And like I said to somebody the other day, it's so easy to win or to keep running when you're in the lead, but it's not so easy when you're behind. And all credit to them for not giving up on this thing and for sticking it out all the way through. So, you know, they're great athletes. They're great athletes, and I look forward to welcoming them back again next year.
And what's it like of an evening when you are sitting around having dinner? You all sort of get along, even though you're competing against each other during the day. Do you put that aside in the evenings?
Yeah, we do. We do. I mean, we do absolutely. We all understand the pain that each other is going through on a daily basis, and that's what running's like. With running, you're really only ever competing against yourself, because it's yourself that makes you slow down. It's the aches and the pains that make you want to stop or quit or slow. And then it's about overcoming that. So really, we're only ever racing ourselves. And Yannis Kouros said that to me many, many years ago. And I wasn't quite sure what he was talking about, but I've learned over time that that's exactly what it's all about. And that's why I love running. That's why I love ultra running, because you always get to a point where your body is telling you to quit and your mind is telling you, no, we're here for the long haul, and you stick it out and you get through it and you feel good about yourself for doing so.
How do you push through that?
I remind myself that the day I can't finish a run will be probably the last day I run. So I keep reminding myself, no matter what, I'm going to finish every single thing I start.
Well, that's a really good attitude. So, so even if you're not finishing to the way that you would like, you will finish it regardless.
Yeah. You know what? They can pack up the things around me, but I'm going to stay there until I get across that finish line. It doesn't matter what happens, because to me, that's what it's all about. That's what I love. My races have always been against distance, not against time. And that's the difference. So many people measure themselves against time, but it's a false measurement, because what happens is they talk about how fast they run a certain distance in the time, but it really comes down to what weather conditions there is. Whether it's driving snow, you're going to run a different time in driving snow and wind and headwinds than you are under normal conditions. If it's roasting hot, if it's in the middle of the desert, if it's on soft sand, if it's on gravel, if it's on bitumen, if it's on grass, if it's around an oval. So forget about the times and just concentrate on finishing what you started.
Yeah, I like that. And it's so true. It is so true. That's right. Now, is there anything that I haven't covered yet that you would like to share with us or let us know about?
I think we've just about gone through everything, but I really want to encourage everybody to go to 1000 Miles to Light website and look at the socials. enjoy the photos, enjoy the videos that we've been able to produce. When the film comes out on KO very shortly, please take the time to watch it, because I think you'll see what you're able to do if you're absolutely determined. And if you can, if anybody can, just, I don't care, even if it's just $1, go to the website 1000 Miles to Light, press on the donate button, and donate whatever you can afford, anything. It may just be your son, your daughters, or even your own life that you end up saving. And it gives us purpose when we know that we're helping others.
Yeah, no, and that's true. And so I'll put the links for that in the show notes. So
thank you.
Yeah, and so when will you in regards to the website, when will you know about the extra runs, the qualifying runs?
So over the next month, so by the end of into October, we will have everything up there and in place. So keep your eye on the website, 1000 Miles to Light, and we'll be letting everybody know. We've just got to secure the venues in each state, and we'll be letting everybody know about the qualifying events. And there may even be one qualifier on this year before the end of the year in one state, and then the rest will be early next year. And of course, August next year will be when the Broken Hill to Byron Bay run is on again.
Well, that's very exciting, and something for everyone to look forward to, especially, having something so big within Australia. So thank you for doing that.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And do you have any more running to do today?
Yes, I do. I've still got to get back out on the track, out on the trail. So I'll head back to it. But thank you very much for your time and your support with the project, and we'll keep you up to speed with how it all finishes up tomorrow.
That'd be great. All right. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.